Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we're going to be discussing effective ICT strategies in Year 11 ATAR biology and also 5 examples of these which emphasize parent engagement and community involvement. These are going to specifically pertain to Unit 1, Term 1 of biology. And so we'll be going through learning strategies that students might use. So they'll use a range of multimedia like Excel spreadsheets, or Google Classroom, Google Docs, many other softwares as well. They'll also be going through online research. They'll learn to apply their learning to real-world situations. They will construct research questions and they will design and conduct investigations. So with these learning activities, students will find a knowledge basis for biology while also being able to navigate technology in the way that the 21st century demands. So the 5 learning activities that I'm going to go through today will be data set collection, extended response, individual research, designing an investigation, and conducting an investigation. So for learning activity 1, this is data set collection. So this will be used for quantity-based assessments where students will need to calculate and draw up a set of data for a specific range and type. So for example, they might need to know about the types of grass in their neighbourhood. They will go out into local areas, take a sample, and then they'll be able to collate that data with their classmates or their group so that they can see what's going on. They're usually not going to have had much experience with this, so if parents here can encourage them in any way they can, please do. Students will also be required to go out into the community, into local wildlife reserves and other places to collect the data they need. They may need permission from some locals to go into the reserves, and they're going to also need to ask people where's a good place to go and things like that. So an ICT strategy that they're going to use would be Excel, because most work may be also done in homework and not in a class. I have created a Google Classroom for this term, and it shows just the steps that the students need to go into. So let's just have a look at that now. So I've got here investigation 1, which will be their first task. And they can just go through the task. They can follow these. They don't have to be in class to follow through with all of this, and they can collaborate with their groups in the classroom as well. So for learning activity 2, we'll look at extended response. So this is an essay type of question where students will need to complete online research to be able to answer the question in depth. Sometimes they will need to interview people for these answers. Their first source is you as a parent and a carer. The wider community will also be involved in these assessments because they need to interview individuals or specific organisations for this type of assessment sometimes. So an example of this type of response is in task 10. So this is for biology, ATAR Year 11. While you will notice this is for Unit 2, students will also undertake POP essay questions throughout Term 1 to cement their understanding of a topic. So as you can see here, it says to outline your response before coming into class. There are 7 points here which they will need to outline and go through. Most of this will not be found in their textbook, so they will need to go through some online research or ask other people to be able to find the answers, especially for current and possible solutions. They will need to get creative with this sort of stuff. Okay. So for learning activity 3, students will go through individual research. So for example, they will look at a topic such as pollution. In Term 1, they'll be looking at ecosystem diversity as well. They'll be required to use all sorts of methods. For example, they might ask you about how pollution shaped your lifestyle as you grew up. As a parent and as someone who has lived before them in a previous generation, they will be very interested to know about how that has affected you. They will also be required to go out into the community and other local areas just to maybe take photos of and show how these areas have been affected by industrial pollution or even just daily living. So typically they will go for online research, they will go onto the internet and they'll find academic literature for this topic. So to find academic literature, they just go to scholar.google.com, and here I've entered in environmental pollution causes. If you just hit enter, you can see here there are books, and if you scroll down a little bit longer, here are some academic articles. You can see who cited it. They will be able to cite it for themselves in assignments, and if you click on them, they're able to go in and read through and just find some solid evidence for what they're researching. Okay. In learning activity 4, students will be creating a conservation strategy. So they will need to find their own resources for this. It won't be in a textbook. They will be asked to go out into the community and ask people how best they would be encouraged to conserve energy and resources. So they will also ask you. You will be involved with this assessment just because you do have a wealth of knowledge about how this sort of topic has affected your life. And we do want to be very practical about this type of assessment. So for an ICT strategy, students will create an online survey which they can then maybe post out on social media or go online and just post it in forums about environmental strategies. They can also go out maybe into the shops in the wider community and stand there with an iPad asking people if they would like to fill in this survey. So I'll just show you an example of what that survey might look like. So I've called this one air quality. There are 3 questions. How would you rate the air quality in this community? What is your age and what's your first name? So this is just very basic, but if you go into the quiz builder, this is what your child will be designing. And they can obviously design their own, and it's just a good way for them to get familiar with this type of data collecting part of research and creating strategies for conservation. So for learning activity 5, students will be conducting an investigation. For parental involvement, there will be questions where they need to ask you the answer. It will be specifically directed to you in the learning topic, so please help them out with that. And also for community involvement, there will be questions where they will still have to go out and search community ecosystems, find out the different types. They will need to ask locals for the answer as well. An ICT strategy for this will just be online research for answers. And so onto the Google Classroom, I've just put a Dropbox. So in investigation 1, as you've noticed, step 1 is to plan the investigation. So once they have completed all of these steps, they can just go into submit investigation step 1 plan, and they will just add into the Google Drive or a link or a file to what work they've done. So this is a submission Dropbox. All right, so this is the reference from which I have taken most of my assessments from. I will obviously tweak them a little bit as to the class's level of learning, but this is the basis for Year 11 biology. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to come see me afterwards. Thank you.